Hey everybody, welcome to Figure Feedback. My name is Jeremy, and in this video, I'm going to give you a point of view look at my entire workflow when it comes to post-processing 3D resin prints. And I wanted to do this because there's a lot of hot takes out there on the internet about some of the more annoying aspects of 3D resin printing that I think might put people off from trying out the hobby, such as the messiness that's involved, the dangers of resin, the steps that you have to go through. And when you put all that stuff together, it's just really off-putting. So I want to show you exactly what everything is like in as near real time as possible. And I am going to be printing and cleaning up and curing this magic lamp that's modeled after the genie's lamp from my favorite Disney movie of all time, Aladdin. So without further ado, here's a look at that entire process. All right, so let's get started. This is going to be the complete workflow here. You're going to see all of the good, all of the potentially bad, and the mess that is my garage. All right, so right here, we've got the Anycubic Photon Mono 4K, and there is my magic lamp right there. First thing I'm going to do, got to take it off the build plate. If you get one of these things, one issue that you might encounter is sometimes this can get a little bit sticky, especially if you get some resin on it that you are not aware of. So if I try to lift it straight up, it's kind of tough. So I have to give it like a little twist and then I can lift it up. But safety is always key. Got myself some nitrile gloves here and some sleeves, and I'm also wearing goggles that you cannot see. All right, so let's take this build plate off just by unscrewing this a little bit and then just kind of gingerly sliding this off. And here is our print. It's looking pretty good. I do have to say, I used the auto supports from the lychee slicer. I didn't think it was going to work out, but it actually did. This is a solid print. And just by the looks of it, it looks like it's probably more support than it actually needs, but hey, it worked. It stood up, and that is what matters. First, let me prepare this wash and cure station. Let me take this off first, using the part of my hands that hasn't touched that resin yet. And I guess it really doesn't matter for this part because this is going to be cured anyway. So let me just move this out of the way. And then I can grab this wash bucket here, and this has 91% isopropyl alcohol inside of it. So let's just get that set up. Now let's remove this from the plate. Now, you gotta be careful when it comes to something like this, because depending on how big the print's gonna be, if you don't have a lot of space to kind of scrape to get this thing off, you could be scraping, and then you can miss and go right into your hand. We definitely don't wanna do that. So I wanna be as careful as possible, and I might have to even switch up how I'm gonna do this. All right, so looks like I got under it a little bit. All right, just kind of work it. Just trying to be as careful as I can be. There we go. So, got it off the build plate. And it's just dripping with resin. Look, there's resin everywhere. You gotta be real careful with this stuff. Just so you know, everything on this table here is contaminated. Everything over there is not contaminated. So what I'm gonna do here is just grab this bucket that's got some really dirty IPA in it. And this is going to be for the first wash of dirty IPA. So I'm just going to take our little magic lamp, put it right in the dirty IPA, and just kind of move it to the side and put the lid back on this. That's going to sit there for a couple minutes while I clean this build plate. I like to clean the build plate after every build, especially if I'm not going to immediately go back and clean it again. So I'm just going to throw some IPA down on this mat here. And I love this mat because resin just kind of slides right off of it. This is something that you can have resin on and you can just go outside and leave it in the sun until it cures, and then you can just pop it right off. But for these purposes, I just take a little bit of IPA on a shop towel and I just start cleaning the plate all the way around. So while that dirty resin or while that uncured resin comes off in that water or comes off in that IPA bucket, I can do this. You see that there's a little bit of cured resin right there on the plate that I can just scrape off. That's another reason why I like to clean it, just so that this doesn't come into contact with my future build. So that's looking pretty good. I want to get all in these little corners here. So I try to make sure that as much uncured resin is off of this as possible, just so I don't run into any problems later on down the line. Put a little bit more on there, and then I like to get into this little handle part, since this is the part that I'm holding on to, just in case any uncured resin got into there, because I don't want that to solidify and end up welding itself to the machine. That's what I don't want. All right, so now that we got this all nice and cleaned up, then I take this little cloth here that's dry, and then I just kind of dry the rest. And so when it comes to this 3D printing stuff, it is a process. You know, you just got to take your time and know that it's not just going to be, hey, let me take it off the plate and put some alcohol on it and it's done. Like, nah, man, we're going to be here for a minute. All right, so now that this is all clean, I'm just going to pop this right back on here. And the weird thing about this is what I've been noticing is that even when I put it on, it seems like the plate is not dead center. And I feel like I got to give it like a little bit of a twist in order for these lines to be flush. And then I just tighten it down. I don't know if I actually need to do that or not, but that's what I do. And I am running low on resin, but I got some more coming soon. All right, so let's just put this lid back on. Cool. We are done with that part. Clean off my blade a little bit more. Move this uncured resin out the way. I'll take care of that, or this cured resin out the way. I'll take care of that later. Now, let's go back over to our magic bucket. Let's got our genie lamp in there. Open this up. And let's take this out of the IPA. And trip a little bit, put it right back down on our station, and I'm going to take the IPA, put it back on the floor, away, just so we don't spill it. Now comes the part of removing these supports. Normally, I would have a container of hot water that I can just put this in. It'll make removing these supports really, really easy, but I don't have that now. And also, fortunately, these supports seem to be coming off pretty easily. And also, it doesn't look like there's any like really sensitive parts that can break off. Like if this was a figure and the supports were attached to its hands or something like that, then I would be really concerned about taking off the supports without warming them up first. But for this, I think I might be okay. Famous last words. All right, so I'm going to try to carefully remove these supports. Try to do it away from my mouth. Yeah, look at that. We got like all these supports down here at the bottom. See if we can pop that off. Yep. And this is all I haven't cured this yet, so it's still very sensitive. So I gotta be careful. I don't wanna break this handle off. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, so this is our little magic lamp here. We got a couple of little pieces of these supports that's still kind of hanging on. And for like the little ones, it's like down here. I'll try to get it with my fingers, but if I can't, I have like a little skewer to get it with. So look at that. Look at our lamp. This is a solid piece. Let's try to get rid of this little support right here. Beautiful. All right, let's not admire it too much because we are not done yet. All right. I just like to take a little bit of this IPA, put it on my gloves a little bit here. Because this lamp still feels a little bit, like slimy, But that's why everything over here is contaminated. Now we're going to go over to this wash and cure station. This wash and cure station is going to help to get rid of some of the remaining uncured resin that's on this lamp. It comes with this little basket here. And then I can just pick this up and just gently put it down into this basket. And then into the bucket it goes. That is starting to get cloudy, so I'm gonna have to change that out very soon as well. It's a dirty process, this 3D printing stuff, let me tell you. All right, let me turn this on. We got two options here. We have wash and we have cure. By default, it's gonna be on wash. So I'm just gonna set this for 4 minutes. And there's a magnet at the bottom of this bucket, and that's helping to spin it. So it's going to spin clockwise, and then it's going to spin counterclockwise. And we're just going to do that for the next 3 minutes and 41 seconds. And while that's going on, I'm going to take these supports. No one comes in this garage really but me. So this may not be the best thing or the best way to handle this, but I just kind of put the things that I'm going to take outside to cure in the morning right here. So this uncured resin here for these supports, I'm just going to take outside, let them sit in the sun all day, and then those things will be cured, and then I can just throw them away safely. All right. So while this happens, I'm just going to grab another little paper towel here and just kind of clean up a little bit. While we wait, here are some of the other tools of the trade. So this metal spatula, this came with the unit as well as this little plastic spatula. And then this is just a little silicone scrubber that I need to get rid of this because I wanted to use this in case I have a failed print. I need to scrape the FEP screen in order to get that cured resin off if that happens, but this is just so flexible, it's useless for that. So I need to get myself a stiffer silicone spatula so I don't scratch that. Then I got myself a set of tongs here, just in case I don't want to put my hand inside of the dirty IPA because I can't see what's going on. So if I got like a miniature and I don't want to just fish around in that dirty IPA, I can just use this, get a feel for it, and just lift it up just like that. Got a little toothbrush that I used to use in the beginning to kind of clean off prints. I don't really do that now, and it seems like everything's okay. Here's some little snippers that I would think would be useful for removing supports, but since I always tend to do it after they've been soaked in hot water, I don't really need that. And then this is kind of like my all-purpose kind of a rag here that comes in handy if you need to use something like this. So if you have yourself a 3D printer and you're finding your prints failing with them being stuck to the screen at the bottom of the resin vat as opposed to sticking on the build plate, one of the things that you can try is this product here. And this is called 3-in-1 multi-purpose PTFE Lubricant. And then after you clean out your resin vat and you just have that plastic FEP screen on the bottom, you just put a little bit of this on a cloth right here that's lintless, and then just gently rub it all around. It's going to make it really, really slippery and lubricated, and it should help those prints not stick to the FEP and instead give more power to the build plate to pull it up. So that might solve your problem, because I ran into some issues like that. I've been using that lubricant and things have been working out. All right, so we've got 19 more seconds to go. There is a heater. We're going to use that in a minute. You know, some people say that you should let it air dry completely, but to be completely honest with you, I just don't have that kind of patience to just be waiting for something to air dry. So I use a heater. So I'm just going to turn this on. These latches are stiff. I've actually cut my finger open just opening these latches. All right, and now we can lift it up. I just let it hang there for a little bit, let some of that IPA drip back down into the bucket. Not gonna wait too long though, just a few seconds. All right, now we can take this off. It's still not cured, so still gotta be careful. It can still be broken, it can still be scratched. It's always a tight fit in this here bucket. All right, got it. All right, so I set that down there. Move this over here. Now we can remove the bucket from the cure and wash station as soon as I latch it back down. All right, so that's just gonna go over here. I like having the bucket in the back for no reason. It's OCD. All right, so we've got our magic lamp right here. Looking good, looking good. But, you know, it's covered in IPA and some uncured resin. So I'm just going to take it over to our heater. And I'm going to let the heater dry it out. Now, since it's mostly IPA on here, IPA, alcohol in general, you know, it evaporates a lot more quickly than water does. So if you got yourself some water washable IPA, you try to do something like this, then it might take it longer for it to get dry because water doesn't evaporate and go away as fast as alcohol does. And that's one of the reasons why I like using the IPA. This is 91%. They also sell 99%. That'll evaporate even quicker, but 91 will do it for me. And because this is a solid print, I don't have to worry about IPA being in some kind of, being like inside of it, inside of the holes, like a hollow print would be. With hollow prints, the designers put holes in it so that uncured resin can kind of drain out and everything else can kind of drain out as well. But when it's solid like this, you don't have to worry about it because it's solid all the way around. There are no holes. There's no hole at the tip of this lamp either. And this thing is pretty much dry. I can feel it. My hands are dry. This right here, it doesn't feel as slippery anymore. And you see that just took me just a few seconds to do. And I'm just trying to be careful with it. You know, resin can be very brittle depending on which type of resin that you get. This is just standard. Well, this is the plant-based resin, which is still ridiculously poisonous, but it doesn't stink as bad as normal regular resin. But they also sell like ABS resin. There's like some industrial style resins for if you really need that toughness, you know, maybe for like machine parts or something like that. But yeah, all right, so this is pretty much good. This is pretty much dry. No air drying for me. It's like there's probably like a little bit of moisture right there, but for the most part, we're good. We are good. All right, so now we need to cure it. So I'm just going to put this down and I'm going to take off one glove because we are pretty much there at this point. All right, so I'm going to go over here, grab this reflective screen right here. Put that down. And then this is the turntable base right there. My gloved hand, I'm gonna pick this up, put it right down there. And then I can grab the case with one hand. Usually after having the glove on my hand for so long, my hand gets really grippy. I can put that down there. All right. And now we switch it over from wash to cure. And I'm just gonna say 5 minutes. Let's turn this heater off. We don't need that on anymore. And so if there's any resin on there that's not cured yet, these UV lights is going to cure it. And it honestly, it probably doesn't even take this long. 5 minutes, I can probably just do this in like 2 or 3 minutes, but 5 minutes is okay. It's gray resin. I don't have to worry about it turning like yellow or any kind of weird color. And that also doesn't matter in this case because I'm going to prime this and I am going to make sure that it is gold, because it's the magic lamp. It's got to be gold. But yeah, this is going to work for the next 4 minutes and then it'll be complete and that will be the end. Another thing that's pretty important to know that if you plan on doing this 3D resin printing and if you don't have like a open space or well ventilated space, if you just have a little small area, then you could run into some problems with some fumes. It affects people differently. Some people get headaches from breathing in resin fumes. Some people are not really affected at all, but ideally you don't want to be breathing this stuff in. We should all really be using respirators around here. I'm not wearing a respirator because I'm stupid, but you really should do that. And as for the ambient temperature, typically the closer to 70 degrees that you can get and even above 70 degrees, then the better off you're going to be. But to be honest with you, I've printed things in this garage successfully as low as like 57, 58 degrees Fahrenheit. I had the heater running to try to keep it warmer, but things still worked out. But as high as you can get to 70, the better. Right now, we're at 67 degrees inside of this garage, which is just fine. Just got 40 more seconds left to go on our lamp and then we will be done. And I'm not taking off both of these gloves until everything is 100% done. Our freshly cured magic lamp. And this is the finished product. After I printed it, I put some rub and buff on there, and then I decided to paint over it with a little bit of metallic gold paint. And then I also did a little bit of a wash there on the top just to bring out some of the details on the top there. So yeah, this is really cool. I really do like how it turned out. And now I just need a small genie to put right there and maybe glue it there. And then the process will be complete. So I hope that this gave you a good perspective into what 3D resin printing is like for the post-processing part of things. And so if you decide to look into this hobby, that's pretty much what you're going to have to deal with. Now, some of the things that I did may be a little bit more difficult than what you might have to go through yourself. One of the things that I continue to do now is scrape the prints off the plate with that metal scraper. But you don't always have to do that because they do sell these flex plates that you can put on the build plate, and then you can take those off and then just give them a twist and a bend, and then the prints will pop right off. And that'll save you a lot of time and potentially even an injury because you won't have to actually scrape things off the plate, especially if they're on there really good. So it's all a learning process and figuring out those processes that's going to make this whole hobby a lot easier and safer for you to do. So that is it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed that POV footage of the washing and curing process, and I will be back soon with some more 3D print related videos. So thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'm Jeremy, and I'll talk to you later.